This is Amud Yomi, Gemara and Berachos Daf Chav Hey Amud Beis. We pick it up 5 lines from the bottom. Chav Hey Amud Aleph, as we continue to discuss whether Miraglayim the Sharishumai Nikr, that you can see an outline of it, whether it is the din of Miraglayim or not. Says the Gemara Lema Kitanai. Let's say that this is a Machlokes Tanayim, as we learned in a Brais. Kli Shenifshchu Mimenu Miraglayim. A kli, a utensil in which Miraglayim was poured from, says the Braisa, also likras kriyishma kenegdoi, you're not allowed to reach kriyishma opposite that keli. Miraglayim atzvon shenivshchu. What about the Miraglayim themselves? Nivlu mutter. If it's absorbed in the ground, it's mutter. Like nivlu aser. Rabbi Yosi Omer kozman shematpichin. As long it is matpichin, as long as it is wet, then it is aser. If not, not. So says the Gemara. What is the machlokes in this brisa? My nivlu, my lo nivlu to cover Tanikama. When the Tanikama said it's absorbed or not, what exactly does that mean? If you're going to say what nivlu, what absorb mean, it's not moist at all. But that's a problem. What's the problem? And on that, Rabbi Yosi comes to say, but therefore, what would we learn out for there? Harishumai nikr. But in the scenario where it's one step lower, it's not matpichin, it's not wet, but you could see the reishim, you could see the traces of it, then it is allowed to daven. It can't be. Why? Because I knew Tanikama. Because then it comes out that Rabbi Yosi and Tanikama are saying the same thing, where that nivlu is just that. Ela nivlu is dein rishumai nikr. What must it mean that it was absorbed in? It must mean that the reishim is not nikr. Loi nivlu is the rishumai nikr. Also, Rabbi Yosi Lememer calls ben shematzvichenu da'aser. Says Rabbi Yosi a higher level. It's all about whether it's actually wet. Harishuma nikr. It's not wet and you can see it. Then shari. So says the Gemara, according to Tanakama, if rishumai nikr, you're allowed to say shema. According to Rabbi Yosi, you cannot. So our shaila from Tav Chavei Amud Aleph is a machlokes tanoim. Says the Gemara, loy, that's not the machlokes. The Kuli Alma called man shematzvichenu da'aser. Really, everyone holds as long as it's matzvichin, it's what it's aser. Hari shuma nikr hu chari. Excuse me, but if it's not wet, but you could see the outline, then it's going to be mutter. We turn over to Chavei Amud Beis. What's the machlokes Tanikam and Rabbi Yosi b'tefecha manas latviach ikabei? Different levels of moisture. We have a level of moisture that's just wet. Then there's a level of moisture that's tefeach. It's wet. Al manas lahatpiach. If you touch and your finger is wet, it can then make something else wet. That's a higher level of moisture, and that's going to be the point that it's being debated between the Tanakama and Rav Yosi. Continues the Gemara 2 lines down. Chavei Amud Beis. So one went into the mikvah, and then the time for Shema comes. We said if he's able to get up. If not, cover himself with the water and say Shema. Says the Gemara, Leimatana Stira to Krevelazar. Is Leimatana is the Tana Kasha on Rav Elazar Damar Ad HaNeitzach Chama, who says that you only let us say the morning Shema until Neitzach Chama. Answers the Gemara, no. If you look at Rav Yeshua, you can say that the Mishnah goes back all the way to Daf Beis. Clearly say that our Mishnah is now even Rav Yeshua, who says that you let us say Shema until the 3rd hour of the day, like we paskin. V'delma kivasikin, but a Mishnah refers to one who would like to say it vasikin, like the Chasidim. So continues the Gemara. Okay, so now we know when you're saying Shema. What was the din of the Mishnah? Says the Gemara, what does it help to cover yourself in water? Your hearts can see your erva because you're eating water. Excuse me, Rabba Bar Acha. Misham Rabbeinu, Kemayim Achurim Shana. And you're talking about dirty water. The Damuk Aris is like thick ground. So the water is dirty, you cannot see through the water, and that's when the Mishnah allows you to say Shema, because the libo is not Reyes Erva. Why? Because the water is separating between the lave and the erva. Tanarabanon continues the Gemara in the last narrow line. Mayim slulin, clear water. Yeshav amatzav aravi kare. You could sit up to your neck and say Shema. Some say no, you should move your feet around, creating some dirt, and then you could say Shema. Tanakama says the Tanakama, hey, let us see Shema. It's clear water in your lave clearly sees the erva. Answers the Gemara of Libros erva mutter. We already saw the shitas Tanakama, which are Tanakama said similarly sticking your head out of the blanket. The same type of din. There's no problem with Libay Reyes erva. Says the Gemara of Hare, but according to Tanakama, Akeva Reyes erva. How you let it see Shema? Your heel, the back of your foot, sees your erva. So the Gemara says that there has to be something seemingly explains Rashi that's not allowed to see us erva. Erva is a mutter. Says the Gemara, no, that's not any problem. So Itmar says the Gemara, let's understand what's going on. But if one's foot is touching his erva, Bayam Asav Rava Amar mutter. Says the Gemara, Rav Zin Mas Lavash Maitzach, Rav Zin Mas Neil slightly differently. That if your foot, your heel is touching as erva, then divrei aser. Royev just seeing it. Abai Amar aser. Rava Amar mutter. Lanina Torah lemalachei hashares vehelchasa noigeya aser. If you're touching the erva, then it's aser. Royev mutter. But if the foot just sees the erva, then it's going to be mutter. Comes along Rava on my Rava about 7 lines into the medium-sized line. The first word on the line is Nitna Torah. Says Rava, let's differentiate. Let's see a clear and stark difference between erva and saya. Amar Rava saya ba'ashashis. If there's saya, if there's excrement that's in an enclosed area, but it's clear, it's ashashis, it's glass. So you have a partition, but you can see it. So you can see the tzaya, even though it's in a different rishos. Motor likewise can connect you say Shema. But erva ba'ashashis, in a similar scenario, if there's erva behind glass, again, you cannot see the erva. You could see the erva, but it's in a different rishos. Also, likewise connected. So we're seeing that erva has to do with seeing it. Tzaya has to do with being in a different rishos. Tzaya ba'ashashis connected. Why? So as long as it's covered, it's fine. And it's covered. It's all about the seeing, and that's the reason why by erva it's going to be a problem. Amar Abaye continues. Abaye 10 lines down. First line is Amar Achmana. Tzaya kolshu, a drop of tzaya mevatla b'roik. Take a little spit onto the tzaya and be mevatl. Amar Rava b'roik av has to be thick spit. Amar Rava tzaya beguma. If there's saya in a hole in the ground, put your foot on top of it, put your sandal on top of it, and say Shema. What if there's a little bit saya on your shoe? Says the Gemara, Teku. If you have a guy that's undressed, you're not allowed to say Shema. What do you mean a guy? Even Israel? Says the Gemara, no, hafach, Israel, pshita leit aser, of course, ala akum etzichle, that's the chiddush. Ma'al the tema yol ksev behu asher b'sar chamayrim b'saram, that goyim have the same din as a chamar. So ima ki chamar ba'almu, just a chamar, kamash malan, that what, inu nami ikru erva, that goyim also consider erva, the clear erva saviyam, Lo Yiro, it says about Noyach, it is either erva, therefore says the Gemara, if a guy is undressed, you're not allowed to say Shema. Continues the Gemara at the 2 dots, about 20 lines down, medium-sized lines, Chavim Abayz, quoting the Mishnah of Loyis Kaseh. The Mishnah said you should not cover yourself, Lo Meim Raim, Lo Meim Mishra, smelly water, water with flax, Ad Shiatal Techamayim, unless you pour clean water into it. Kama, Maya Rami V'azal, how much water could you go and pour into the smelly water to allow these waters to cover you to say Shema? Elachi Kamar says the Gemara, meaning if there's so much water, what's it going to help? Lo Yiskaso Mayim Rav Lamei Mishra Klau. Umeiraglayim, if there's a little bit of Meiraglayim, then Mayim V'yikra, a little bit of Meiraglayim, you can pour other water onto it and then allow yourself to say Shema. Tanu Rabbanan. How much water do you have to put into the Meiraglayim? Kolshu. Rav Zakai Amar Rav Amar Rav Nachman. Machlokes l'b'soif. The machlokes Tanakam and Rav Zakai is when There's already meiraglayim, and now you're pouring water to be mevatel the meiraglayim. That's when Rav Zakeh says in the Revi'is aval b'tchilik oshu. But if you're putting water in and then one is going to go meiraglayim into that keli, even a drop is going to be okay, because then you can have kama bottle. The meiraglayim will be mevatel into the water. Rav Yosef Amar, no, the opposite. Machlokes the chatchila. Machlokes Rav Zakeh and Tanakama is whether you're putting the water in originally. Aval b'soif then the miracle Revi'is. Amar Rav Yosef l'shami Eis the Revi'is of the Maya Kirav Zakeh. He paskin like Rav Zakeh. Tan Rabbanon. 2 dots, about 15 lines before the wide lines. Grav shal reiv avid shal meiraglayim, a chamber pot for sayo or a chamber pot for meiraglayim. Asli goes kriyashma kineg danu avalisha in bem klum. Even if there's nothing inside of them, the potty itself, a meiraglayim atzman, and as well the meiraglayim. Actually, to chamayim to put water into. V'kam yotzal to chamayim. Kol shuv zakim revi'is. Continues the brayse. Whether this chamber pot is before the bed, whether it's behind the bed, so that the bed itself blocks it, you're not allowed to say shemak. The bed itself is not considered to block the chamber pot. Rashba goimer lachar amita kairi. Lefnei amita ina kairi. V'march liku arba amos kairi. Rather, you have tzitzal 4 amos. If Shimon Elazar aimer afilu bayis ameya amo, even a house that's 100 amos like Rachi Yitzia Shenichan Tachzamita, till you remove it or you put it underneath the bed. So Shimon Elazar saying that it has to be completely in a different rishah. Says the Gemara, what did Rav Shvag mean when it said you have to move away? Dalid amos. What did Shimon Gamliel mean when he said you have to move 4 amos? Achar amita kari miyad. When it's behind the bed, you read right away. Lefnei amita marchar amos kari. Otomochi kamer lachar amita marchar amos kari. Lefnei amita in kari klam. Meaning, which part was Rav Shimon Gamliel going on? Is he saying that when it's behind the bed, read right away? Or is he saying, and in front of the bed, marchik dalid amos? Or no, behind the bed, even then you need dalid amos. Tashema says the Gemara, the time in the Brayse of Shimon Elazar Aimer, achel mita karimi had, vleim mita marchik arba amos. That's Rav Shimon Elazar in the Brayse. Rashbag Aimer afilu bais mea amo leikra ad sheisim ad sheinicham tachas amita. So what do we see from over here? We see that when we're talking about 4 amos over here, it's when the ovet is in front of the bed. But if it's behind the bed, then you're allowed to say Shema. Says the Gemara, the names don't add up. Now we have a stira mishnah. It's very good. You now figured out which statement it's going on. But now we have a stira in Rashbag and Shimon and Lazar. Switch the latter price. How do you know which one to switch around? Man answers the Gemara, who is the Shita that holds all else? Is Daled Amos of Shimon Elazar, and that's why we switch around the latter price. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rav Yosef. By me name Ravuna, they ask Ravuna the following. If you have a bed that's less than 3 tefachim high, underneath the bed is under 3 tefachim, Shitali the kalavadami, it's like lavid, and it's all going to be one rishah. But if you have a bed that's between 3 and 9 tefachim high, what is the halacha if you have, and of it you have this chamber pot that's under the bed? Amar li Rav respond liyadano. Certainly is not a question since it's so high up. It's not considered covering up the ovet. But between 3 and 9, Rava didn't know. It's good that you didn't ask about a bed from Ravuna Kulasar Rishus Achriti, because then it has the different Rishus, so certainly that would not help. The Gemara doesn't answer the Shaila. Amar Rava, here it is. Asara Rishus Achriti. Mishlei Shabbat Asara. Hainu Dubai Minei Rav Yosef Ravuna. V'lo Parsha Min Avashayla Amar Rav Alach Rav Shimon Elazar. Alach Rav Shimon Elazar that you can't see it in the whole house if there is an ovet with exposed miraglayim, etc. Excuse me, if there's an exposed ovet. Shmuel. Halach Shimon Elazar. Rav Amar Ein Halacha Shimon Elazar. So we have a machlokes exactly whether we paskin like Rav Shimon Elazar or not. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up from Rav Achai, 4 lines from the bottom of the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.